In this video, we're going to explore the concept of plain language programming. And one of the innovators in the AI space is Andrej Karpathy, and that is the person that I am borrowing the term software 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 from. And a cool quote from Andrej Karpathy is, "The hottest new programming language is English." Here's why. You can think of a prompt as a little program that you run at runtime, meaning you type it as a prompt and press enter. It's not code, it's English. Runtime is the moment of execution. For example, this is code, but I need to push this play button or run it, and this would be considered runtime. So then it outputs this hello world. And much like programming, this is the runtime when you're talking about ChatGPT. So you can think of prompts as runtime instructions without any code. But it's important to note that you're not changing the weights, meaning you're not changing the program that created this ChatGPT, which is based on software 2.0. What you're doing is changing the behavior by giving it a context. You're steering the runtime to get an output or a prediction or a behavior. So you can think of it as constraints plus an example equals a pattern, meaning you can keep the facts in the excerpts or an example to teach the model the style and the format that you want. So the goal here is shorter, steadier, and paste-ready outputs. You want to get the output the first time. Some people just prompt and hope, and that's not the way to go. And you don't want to talk to it like a human. That's also not the way to go. You really want to think of prompts as plain language programming. First, let's talk about LLMs. These stand for large language models, like ChatGPT and others, such as Grok, Gemini, or Claude. And what they're doing is that they're picking the next token from a probability distribution. What does that mean? So token means word, or it could be a word chunk. For example, RELAY. These could be two, but what we're saying is relay. So it could have two tokens to represent one word. And it predicts just the token, so the next token, from a probability distribution. So we could have the word or the token I, and then we could have a series of choices like I love, or I ran, or I met. And each one of these are going to have some kind of a percentage associated with them, and it usually picks the highest one. So there's a concept of temperature, which we'll explore later, but for now, to give you an idea, the higher the temperature, the more variety. The lower the temperature, the more stability. Also, on top of variety, you'll get some pretty wild answers. It kind of gets more creative and wild. And here you get a more plain and stable output, less creative and less wild. So when I say that consistency equals reducing the degrees of freedom, that means that if your prompt is vague, the model gets to guess, and you don't want it to guess because it's probably not going to be what you're thinking. So the less freedom equals a steadier output, or we could say more consistent. So we want to reduce the guessing or the degrees of freedom. You want to specify shape, and you want to use techniques like one or few shot examples, and this is going to steady that voice. These are all techniques that we're going to explore in this course, but I'm just giving you sort of a preview of what the goal is. We want really good outputs, and there's different things that you can do. Essentially, we want to reduce the degree of freedom, meaning we don't want it to guess. We want it to know exactly what we want. That's how it can give us what we want. In practice, this means you control the behavior by tightening the program. So here's where we're going. We're programming with English. And that means using techniques like CRE. We want to give it a clear context, a clear role, and clear expectation. Plus, shots. These mean examples. No example, one example, or a few examples. And we can also add facts, which we can call excerpts, or examples, which are going to relay the style and the format that we're looking for. So we'll start simple using CRE, or context, role, and expectation, and then we'll dive into a schema, length cap, tone macros, safety boundaries for paste ready outputs. We're just going to increase the complexity. And when you do this, this is advanced prompt engineering. The goal of this course is to take you from the very beginning, from AI fundamentals to understanding what Software 3.0 is, and then give you the tools that you need, a prompt toolkit, so that you can reuse them for yourself or for your team. This is going to dramatically improve the quality of your work and the quality of the outputs of your models. All right, so let's talk about what a naive prompt is. Just to clarify, it's not a context role expectation. It's really just talking to a human, right? Something very casual. Should I update to iOS 26? This is the part of the problem. These companies are suggesting that we talk to these models like humans. But that's why prompt engineering really frames this as programming and gives you an advantage. While everybody else is talking to it like a human, you can talk to it like a programmer, or at least with the foundational knowledge of programming, and your outputs are going to be on fire. I'll show you why. So we're done with the video, but I want to show you how to do a naive prompt. Let's say that you need to summarize something. If you just say, summarize this, and you have some kind of a message, this is a naive prompt because you're not thinking about the context, you're not thinking about what the role is or expectation. So how is the model going to know? In this case, it's GPT-5, I believe. How is it going to know what you want? So the challenge is about doing a regular summary, so a naive prompt, and then strategizing how could you give it more information to get the output that you exactly want. So the challenge is going to give you how the prompt should look after it gets summarized. So I'll give you a context or a scenario or some text data that needs summarization and the expected output. And without using any special skills, see if you can invent a way to talk to it. Maybe imagine that you're a programmer and you want to be very specific to see if you can get the exact output that we're looking for. And in the following skills, we're going to iteratively build on all of the techniques all the way to the very end of this course, where you'll have a prompt toolkit that you can reuse. You can just copy and paste so that you don't have to think like a programmer and reinvent the wheel every time that you're going to talk to these models. All right, so up next is a challenge, and until next time, I hope this has been informative and I'd like to thank you for viewing.